Our guest is Ashley Bailey Marion. She is a registered pharmacist and she is the manager of Riverwalk Kroger's Pharmacy. And it's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I can tell you, she has helped me so many times. It's a pleasure having her here. So welcome to Vital Signs, and let's talk about our topic. What is a pharmacist?
So, a pharmacist is not just somebody who counts pills. A pharmacist is someone who makes sure that the medications that your doctor prescribes for you or your practitioner don't interact with any of the other medications. We make sure that you're on appropriate therapies, not duplications of therapies, meaning you're not taking too many things for the same disease. And we make a lot of over-the-counter recommendations for common colds, allergies, things like that. And one of our biggest things is we give a lot of immunizations nowadays.
Interesting. You mentioned about possible overdosing. Many people now see many different doctors.
Yes.
And sometimes one doctor who is treating you for something and another doctor is treating you for something, and the medications conflict or maybe are doubled up. They're just a different name. Is that common?
It is actually very common. That's one of our main duties as a pharmacist, is to make sure that we minimize any kind of drug interactions between different products, especially with people going to so many different specialists and the potential for duplications in therapy. It's really important for patients to stick to one pharmacy so that we can see all of your medications and we can make sure that, Dr. A is not giving you the same thing that Dr. B is. Whereas if you take the medications that your first doctor prescribed you to one pharmacy and you take the prescriptions from another doctor to another pharmacy, we're not going to necessarily see those duplications in therapy. So there's a potential for overdosing of medications, there's a potential for major side effects, and then there's a potential for drug interactions that can cause significant health problems.
And you also always check about allergies.
Exactly, yeah, allergies. There's a lot of medications that you may be allergic to one thing in the class, and you could probably take the other things. For example, penicillins. A lot of patients are allergic to penicillin.
Yeah.
But there are other medications in that same class, like amoxicillin or cephalexin. And those products you may be able to take, but we need to talk to you first about what kind of allergies you have, what kind of reaction did you have to the penicillin. But there's a low chance that you could react to these, and the patient needs to be aware of that before they take it.
Okay, so let's talk about awareness. What is the difference between a brand name, quote, and a generic?
So brand name products are our new products that come to market. So they've just been approved by the FDA, and they are being manufactured by a single manufacturer. Branded products usually have a patent for about 10 years. Once that patent is up, then other manufacturers have the ability to start producing that product under the generic name. Branded products, because you only have one manufacturer or one drug company making it, are typically significantly more expensive, because once we have multiple people making it, then your generics are going to be much cheaper, because now you have a price difference between them.
Now, the average public doesn't realize it can cost up to $3 billion to get a specific drug approved by the FDA.
Yes, so it's not just...
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. But so it's not just like, hey, we found this drug and we want it to come to market. There are a multitude of steps before that. There are clinical trials that have to be done.
Yes.
There are multiple years of research that goes into it. There's the development of the actual way that the medication is distributed throughout the body. You know, if it's an injectable form, we've got to make sure that it's stable in a carrier so that we can give it as an injection.
So there's a reason it costs so much.
Yes,
It's for public safety.
Yes, and it takes years.
Yes.
Sometimes even decades for medications to come to market.
And that's something that the average patient, me, doesn't always understand. And the other thing is, if that drug is successful for this specific disease by this company, that means another company is going to try and develop a drug that's similar to and competes with it.
Sometimes, yes, they do. And it could be just a simple change in, you know, a part of the chemical structure. It could be the original manufacturing company, drug company that makes it. They can get an extension on their patent by just changing the delivery of the medication.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated.
Okay, so what's an OTC?
So an OTC is an over-the-counter product. It is any medication that the FDA deems safe enough to be sold over-the-counter without a prescription from your provider.
It also means that it hasn't gone through this $3 billion cost to be sold over the counter.
So typically our over-the-counter medications are prescription medications that have been studied for a long time, that have a known safety track record, and then they are allowed to go over the counter. For example, recently one of them was Pat-a-Day eye drops. That was a prescription for years.
Eye drop, yes.
And it just recently went over the counter because it's safe enough for patients to use on their own.
Well, you know, my career was based greatly on the work I did with dry eyes many years ago, starting in the 70s. And the government was told that dry eye patients didn't need treatment. Caused a lot of problems. Now they know. But so they have been shown to help. And is there a difference? Let's talk about Medicare and Medicaid. Is there a difference?
Yes. So Medicare is a lot of times referred to as your Social Security benefit. Medicare is eligible once you are 65, or if you have some underlying health disorders. Medicaid is based on need. So think of it as it's an aid to help you get your medicines and get your health care taken care of. Whereas Medicare is going to take care of you after you've worked.
Well, you see these advertisements on TV where they say if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible for future benefits. So do you have, some people have both?
Some people can qualify for both. Where Medicaid is need-based, you may still qualify for Medicaid in addition to your Medicare because you're on a fixed income.
We should talk about the fact that every year, about December the 7th, at least that's what it's been the last few years, you have to sign up for your Medicare. I don't know if that is also for Medicaid, but what happens if somebody doesn't sign up by the due date?
So Medicare has an open enrollment period every year. It's already going on right now. It's usually October to the beginning of December, I'm sorry. And you have to sign up for Medicare Part D, D as in drugs. So that is an optional program for you to get. Medicare at its base does not include drug coverage. So if you don't sign up for your Medicare Part D this year, then you may not have drug coverage next year if your plan doesn't automatically enroll you in a plan. So making sure that you go to your open enrollment period, speak to someone, make sure that you're going to your Medicare.gov website, putting all your prescriptions in there, and finding the best plan for you because the rates change every year. So what plan you have?
So you can't just call Medicare and say, I forgot to sign up.
Nope, can't just call them and tell them you forgot to sign up. There's only a special enrollment period if you turn 65.
Watch it.
Hey.
You're a teenager, man. Okay, so that's very interesting. I don't think a lot of early Medicaid patients know about the restrictions. I think the doctors are well versed on this and tell them, but you know, if you're getting that age, you sometimes forget things.
I will tell you, I deal with it on a daily basis.
Really?
And it is still confusing. There are changes all the time that are occurring. There's going to be a bunch of new changes next year in 2025.
Tell us about them.
Okay, so Medicare is trying to alleviate the burden for a lot of our patients. There's something currently called the gap or the donut hole.
Yep.
So once you get to a certain amount, Medicare says, okay, you need to pay for a little bit more of this, and you're responsible for several $1,000s until they'll start picking it up again. Starting in 2025, they're trying out to eliminate the gap. So in order to do that, they're going to raise the monthly premiums on some of the plans no more than $35 a month. They're trying to distribute that burden across everybody so that, for example, if you had to be on insulin, that's very expensive. You're going to go in the donut hole. You know you're going to go.
Yeah, within a couple of months.
Within a couple months, yes. And then you have to figure out how to financially pay for that. Whereas, you know, your wife, she doesn't need insulin. And she's never going to go in the donut hole because she takes one medication for blood pressure that costs $5 a month.
As sweet as my wife is, you could say she's a diabetic, but she's so sweet. God bless her. Put up with me for 56 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, so that's a big deal, particularly for the diabetics. Now, let's discuss the cost of medications. It's very complex.
Very complex.
And some people think, well, if they've done it with insulin now, why can't the government tell the drug company this is what the price is going to be?
That is a very difficult question to answer. Should there be some more regulation within the pricing of medications? I personally believe so. A few years ago, we had an instance with the EpiPen. The only medication out there to help stop allergic reactions. And we need to have that. People need to have access to it. Well, the price of the medication skyrocketed, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars. People couldn't afford it. So what are you supposed to do if your child accidentally gets stung by a bee, even though you're doing the absolute best you can to keep them away from it? They need that EpiPen. So the government stepped in and helped regulate the price of that medication and brought it back down. There's a lot of meetings and discussions with major pharmaceutical companies about the pricing of the medications with the government. The government, you know, has brought down the $35 a month max for a lot of insulins, but it doesn't apply to every insulin. There are some that they just haven't been able to come to that agreement with. And so, like I said, it's a very difficult balancing act to still allow a company to profit, but the benefit of our patients and our consumers still be significant enough. And the government is really trying to help with that in some cases.
So there is an organization, as I understand it, that the pharmacy companies support, and that organization is the one that negotiates prices with the government some way. Am I missing something?
There's not really an organization itself. There are a lot of pharmaceutical organizations, consumer protection organizations who work with these manufacturers, these big pharma companies, and the government to come to terms, but there isn't anybody specifically that's like, this is our specific job to do this.
So it's not just that easy for the government to say, okay, this is what it's going to cost.
No, no.
Now, speaking of that, there is this little card that is sent to every doctor's office, I believe, going. It's called the Good RX Prescription Savings Card.
Yes.
Okay, does this replace my Medicaid or my Medicare?
So it can, based on your formulary. So when you pick an insurance plan, you are given a formulary and it tells you what medications they prefer, what medications cost more, and sometimes it is cheaper for you to use a discount card such as GoodRx or the Visory discount card in place of your insurance.
Literally.
Literally.
So is that a copay card?
No, this is a discount card or a coupon card. A copay card is something that you can use in conjunction with your insurance.
What's a trial offer?
A trial offer, think of that as like a sample. So your doctor may not have physical samples in office anymore, but they've got a trial offer. So you can take the medication at no charge or very reduced cost for a month or two, see how it works before you commit to paying, a higher like a higher copay on your
Now,
prescription.
you know why doctors don't give out samples like we used to?
Because you don't have as many drug reps?
Well, no. You can get the samples, but every little bottle, let's say of an eye drop, an artificial tear,
Yeah.
okay, it's got a number on it, right?
Yeah.
Registration number and all of that. They now require on you put on the patient's record the number of any sample you might give them.
So that we can track them if there's a recall.
Yes. And most of those are 5 cc's. So it just takes so much time.
Yeah.
And like CMC won't let them give samples out, I don't think, and many hospitals don't. They don't want the paperwork. And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand.
So a free trial offer would be an excellent alternative.
Yes. I don't know, for prescription medicines, is it that easy to get a free trial offer?
No.
No.
Not every medication has a free trial offer.
Okay.
It is typically only going to be your branded medication, so your newer products. And like I said, not every medication has one.
So Medicare is not going to, in most cases, cover you for these copay cards.
No. Well, the coupon card. So the coupon card, you use that in place of your Medicare insurance.
Okay, it's complicated, and
It
you guys
is.
have to figure this out.
is.
See, the patients, I don't think the public understands what the pharmacist has to go through to fill one prescription.
Yes.
They think they're sitting there and they're counting those pills and that's it.
Yeah, or I can just pull something off the shelf and slap a label on it.
Yes,
No.
and I know the questions that I have had for you, and when I'm sitting down there and listening to people asking you guys questions, and the call-ins, it's enormous. Now, some pharmacists or pharmacies, as I understand it, don't take questions about medications. They can't handle the calls coming in. And I've seen the time that you've spent and other people, pharmacists, spend with patients trying to explain all of this to them. It's very difficult.
Yes, it can be very difficult. Typically, when you go and see your doctor, you spend about 7 minutes in the room with your doctor.
If you get that much.
Yeah, if you get that much. Pharmacists are one of the most readily accessible healthcare providers. I have significant training. I have all kinds of pharmacotherapy classes and anatomy and physiology, just like you would if any other practitioner. The thing is, where I'm so accessible, you're going to come to me usually once a month. If you're lucky, you go to your doctor a couple times a year. So you're going to come to me and ask questions, and that's one of my major duties as a pharmacist, is to make sure that you're well taken care of and to answer any questions you may have about your medications or the over-the-counter products that you want to take.
Every new medicine that comes out on TV and they advertise it, they say, ask your doctor.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have time for it, and you're not going to see them, but you see your pharmacist
Yeah.
about once a month.
Yeah, yeah, or more often when you're in the grocery store.
Okay. Okay. So this increases the cost because of your staff. Now, we know in our local area, we've had major closures of pharmacies.
Yes.
So we have to assume, maybe correctly or incorrectly, that's because of the costs have gone up so much and professional pharmacists aren't available for them to have, so they're just closing their pharmacies.
Yeah, there is a real need for some reform in the pharmacy world. So, in addition to the cost of medications, the reimbursement rates from insurances has decreased significantly. So that does impact, the ability to hire multiple pharmacists for a location. It used to be that you would never walk into a pharmacy unless there was at least 2, maybe 3 pharmacists working the bench that day.
Yeah.
If you can find a pharmacy with more than 1 pharmacist at a time, it's a rarity.
Well, when you think about it, some of these big stores that handle a lot of things, they make more selling cosmetics and liquor and tobacco than they can make selling drugs.
Yeah, because of the reimbursement rates, because of the rates that we get paid for dispensing some medications is significantly less than what it costs us to sell it to the patient.
Well, see, that's it. The patients don't understand that you guys are the ones that set the prices. And you can't just raise a price automatically if you're not making it on it. And that's the problem now. So, you're right. There's going to have to be some changes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't set the price of the medication. We don't set what your copay may be from your insurance company. We unfortunately have no control over that.
Let's talk about cost.
Okay.
I have a prescription. It was called in for me, and I go in to pick it up. Many times they just say, Dr. Rashid, this is your prescription. It's $50.
Okay.
Now, on occasion, some of the medicines have been very expensive. And in fact, you have said or have gone and checked other medications to see if there's a different price, and have saved me considerable amounts. Now, do you have to do that for somebody? Or can you just give them the medicine and this is the one your doctor prescribed and that's the cost?
That is, I do not have to give you the best price. I do have to dispense the generic unless your doctor specifies that it's brand necessary. But myself as a pharmacist, I try to find the best price I can for my patients because if I can give you a better price on a medication, you're going to come back and see me. And sometimes that's a discount card. Sometimes if it's a combination product, like you have a blood pressure medication that has 2 products in one, if we split those up,
it's cheaper if you split them up.
Yes, significantly cheaper. It may increase your pill burden a little bit, but I would rather take 2 pills for $10 than 1 pill for $200.
Yes. Okay, yes, I've run into that. I understand. So now let's talk about vaccinations.
Okay.
Why do some people have to get vaccinations for the flu every year, but I'm still resting on my measles, or you get the measles and vaccination from when I was a kid?
So there's many different reasons for that. One of which is the flu. It changes rapidly. It changes year to year typically. And so our flu shots are based off of what the trends we see like in Australia or around the world. And so when new flu shots are developed, you need to get one each month, and that will at least protect you through the following flu season.
Each year?
Each year, yes, I'm sorry.
So they mutate. They become stronger in many cases, and then you have the COVID. But some of them, like measles and tetanus, tetanus is a repeatable one if you need it.
Tetanus you should get every 10 years, yeah.
So what about the monkeypox vaccination?
So a lot of vaccines you only have to get once in your lifetime, because once you get that vaccine, you have lifelong immunity. Whether it is an innate immunity, meaning your body has been exposed to that pathogen, and when it sees it again, it'll automatically protect you. Or in other cases, there's not really a mutation that occurs with those pathogens.
Can you get more than one vaccine at a time?
Absolutely. You can get as many vaccines as you would like at a time.
Well, and some people just say, I'll just do one that hurts their arm or something, but that's
Yes.
important. Now, I noticed that you used to tell me when I had the vaccination, sit around for a while.
Yes.
Or walk around the store. I walk around the store for 20 minutes or so
Yeah.
to make sure I have no reaction.
Yes.
But somebody who has allergies or might have reaction, they should wait for a while before they go out and drive and things like that.
Absolutely. Anytime you get a vaccine, we ask that you stay in the store or sit in the pharmacy in our waiting area for at least 15 minutes.
I'm sure Kroger likes that. Now, who should avoid vaccinations?
You should only avoid vaccinations unless your doctor specifically tells you to, because you have some kind of autoimmune disorder or immunodeficiency, a reason why you shouldn't get it, or if you're allergic to the product.
Okay, and what's important about the RSV virus now? Because it used to be they gave that shot to kids, now they're telling adults to get that?
So RSV is the #1 cause for infant hospitalization, and it is a type of pulmonary or lung disease virus, but it is starting to affect our older population significantly. So it's just as important for them to get the vaccine so that when we get older, our immune system starts to go down some. So we need to keep you as protected as we do the babies.
Now, one of the ways that you've advised me I can save medications, you have a special health club system in Kroger's. Is that something people take advantage of?
Not as many that should. But yeah, Kroger has the Health Savings Club. It is kind of like Kroger Insurance. There is a yearly fee associated with it, but there are over 200 medications that are on this that will give you free to $12 copays on our most popular products.
And you do vaccinations you can go in and ask for a vaccination?
Anytime. You can come in and ask for a vaccine anytime.
And the doctors don't do that. They can't keep up with it, and so I understand that. One thing I should say, and we mentioned it a little bit, people who buy over-the-counter medicines like for allergies and cough syrup and different things, they may be over-medicating.
Yes, they could be over-medicating.
That's good. I want to thank you so much, Ashley, for taking time, and I know you're very busy, to be on Vital Signs. This is Dr. Richard C. Rashid, hoping you'll see a bright day.